This is your Daily 5 for Monday, July 27th, 2026. If you've listened to the show for even a small amount of time, you've probably figured out by now that the sweet spot of movies that I like to watch are generally 20 or more years old. I don't watch a lot of stuff that's modern because much of it just doesn't seem like it's made for me, but I wanted to get out of that groove a little bit, and so this week's movies are both recent releases that have been very popular, in both cases, I think, with younger viewers. Now, they're certainly not, like young movie like Super Mario Galaxy type stuff, but movies that the younger audiences seem to be responding to. So the first movie we watched this week was 2025's Obsession, which I think was the one that did it beat Mandalorian, or there was some big movie that it beat to pulp or something like that. I don't remember exactly. But in any event, it got a lot of very good reception. It had a lot of audience response. I thought, okay, I like horror movies, so I'll watch this. I really don't care. I was kind of curious what it would be like. I knew there were some quirky things about it, and that was fine. I didn't know if Lando would respond to it as well because he's not into horror movies as much, but I had read that there's a psychological element to it, so I thought, okay, he'll probably find it interesting, if not enjoy it. Well, let me tell you, I'll let Lando talk on Friday about his thoughts about it, but I don't know that I've laughed this hard at a movie in a while. I thought Obsession was a blast. Now, that may seem like an odd thing to say for a movie that is deeply disturbing and is a true horror movie, but I think at this point in my life, having watched so many of these films, including ones that make this seem like a Disney film, to be honest, it does not impact me the way it does others. There's horrible elements about it, don't get me wrong. It is absolutely a horror movie. The core concept, if it was done completely straight, would be very difficult to wrestle out of your mind. The thing is, this movie, I am convinced, is trying to almost work against itself in a positive way by going so over the top with some of the decisions made that it almost, I would call it a dark comedy. I really would, because there are, and I can't get into specifics until the Friday show where we talk about details, but there are moments that are so... And of course, these are all specific directing and these are all specific decisions. Nothing's accidental here. There are such specific choices made to offset what would otherwise be a very, very downer film. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that's necessarily a happy film, but there are just these choices made that I was laughing out loud like a lunatic at. And I don't think it's because I'm having the wrong response to the movie. I think it's the way the movie is designed to be. It's trying to, and I think wisely, diffuse some of the seriousness of the actual topics, because otherwise this would be a miserable film to experience, one I would never want to revisit. Whereas as it exists now, I can see myself going back to Obsession every few years just to rewatch it, because there are just such interesting things in it. It's very well directed. There are a couple of specific shots, including one which I'll talk about on Friday, that were very creepy. That one in particular really creeped me out. And then there's just some wonderful, wonderful stylistic decisions made in the movie. So it's impeccably crafted. That's one thing about this. This feels very specifically made by somebody who has an idea of what they want this movie to be. And that generally is something that you can sense when it's happening. When somebody really has an iron grip on what they want the atmosphere and the feel of a movie to be, it is so clear that it is undeniable. And it's not something that is really quantified. You can't really say to somebody, well, here's the 3 things that mean this is happening. It's just a sense of how a movie operates. An Obsession and the movie I'm going to discuss, our second movie, these both feel very specifically crafted by people who have a story they want to tell and a very, very clear vision about how they want that story to be unfolded in the movie that they are making. And that is something rare. I'm not saying people don't make good movies all the time. There's a lot of good movies. But when you come to one that's this high caliber tuned to a specific way of viewing the material, it is remarkable. So I understand completely why this movie was so popular. It is available on digital now, so I would say it is worth a rental even at a high price. So yeah, 2025's Obsession, it wasn't exactly what I thought it was going to be, but in this case that meant it was just a much better film, and it is a riot. Later.